Today, we're going to be talking about the Toyota Camry, specifically the 8th generation. So that means anything from 2018 to 2023. We'll go over the history, we'll talk about some specs, we'll go over the interior, the exterior, and things to look out for when you're buying one of these guys used. Now, before we get into the video, this car right here is listed for sale on our website, privateauto.com, the for sale by owner marketplace that lets you buy or sell a car anytime, any place. Now, back to the video. Let's get into some history. Now, in the early days, the Camry had a bit of an identity crisis. Before it was a Camry, it was actually just the four-door version of the Celica. Then 2 years later, Toyota decided to just make it its own standalone model. Now in 1987, Toyota decided to pull its four-door model in the United States, the Corona, to replace it with this guy, the Camry, making it the first year the Camry was sold in the United States. In 1997, the Camry became the best-selling car in America, and it's largely held that title up until 2019. And I say largely because there was a year or two where the Civic won, but every other year the Camry was the king. And it's becoming an even larger percentage of passenger car sales, mostly just because other automakers have decided to stop making sedans and kind of more gear themselves more towards the SUV or the crossover market. Now, the Camry wasn't particularly known for its looks. Largely from the 1st generation to the 7th generation, it was pretty bland. For the longest time, Toyota had the motto of practicality and reliability over looks. And that can be seen as a good thing. I mean, you buy a Toyota because it'll start every time. And that's why you could drive these things till the wheels fall off. However, when the current sitting president of Toyota took over, he gave an order to all of his engineers and said, all right, guys, no more boring cars. Now, what's cool about that is that Toyota doesn't sacrifice its reliability and practicality. You just get better looking cars. And that's where the 8th generation Toyota comes in. From generation 1 to about 7, this car was largely vanilla. However, the 8th generation completely redesigned itself, gave itself a facelift to something a little bit more sporty and a little bit more appealing. What do you think? Do you miss the vanilla looks, or do you think the sportier look is a nice change? Now that we're all caught up, let's go ahead and do a walk around of the car. All right, let's take a look at the exterior of the Camry. So when shopping for a Camry, there are going to be two different body styles. Any trim with an S in it, like XSE, SE, is going to have this body style right here. Any trim with an L in it is going to have this body style right here. Personally, I prefer the look of the SE more, the sportier look. It's going to have a little bit more aggressive lines to it throughout the whole body of the car. And the rear end is going to look a little bit different. Let me show you that real quick. So this is what the rear of the S body style looks like. You're going to have kind of these cooler, sportier trim accents. Personally, I like them a lot. On the L body style, it'll kind of look a little bit like this, so a little bit different there. You're going to have these lights that kind of wrap around to the side panel. You'll also have a rear diffuser, also only available on the S body style. You're also going to have a dual-tipped exhaust, although I don't think it's actually a dual exhaust. It just has 2 exits. So not really functional, but hey, it looks cool. So moving on to the side of the car here, you'll see kind of more aggressive panel lines. So starting from the rear, this line kind of goes all the way to the front panel. You'll also have this kind of chrome trim piece around the door here. Now, depending on what trim you have, this will actually either be covered in black or chrome. Since I have kind of an earlier model, lower trim SE, this is going to be chrome. However, I think on the nicer XSE versions, this will be blacked out. Now, same with the roof here. My Camry is a single color all the way throughout the car. However, on the nicer XSE trims, this is going to be two-toned. So this will be black. Some of them will have a sunroof, some of them won't. This car is just going to have one color throughout the entire build. Now, this is kind of cool. So when the redesign came, they actually gave the Camry nicer 17-inch alloyed wheels, which look way better than the previous OEM tires, in my opinion, at least. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the interior. Now, something that you'll notice in this car is it's got Toyota Softex leather seats. Basically, it's leather with a little bit of cloth inside. However, this is only applicable to the S body style. If you have an LE trim or an L trim, you're gonna have the cloth seats. Now, moving on to the front, you'll have a nice 7-inch touchscreen. Now, something worth noting is that it doesn't have Android Auto capabilities. It only has Apple CarPlay capabilities. Right below that, you'll have a charger slot and a USB port for your phone. That's what'll give you Apple CarPlay. And then behind the steering wheel, you'll have these nice little paddles that actually make it so that you can change change gears. The Camry has an 8-speed automatic transmission. However, you can throw it into a manual mode and select the gear that you want to be in. And you'll have a nice little accent trim piece kind of going from the middle all the way over to the passenger door. In this trim, you'll also have some weathered floor mats, which are also pretty nice. It helps keep the car nice and cleaned, and the floor mats are also easy to clean themselves. Now, moving on to the back, both of the seats fold down in a 60-40 split, and what's cool about it is when you fold the seats down, there's actually like a window that extends to the trunk of the car so that you can haul longer things. You're also going to have a lot of leg room back here because it's a full-size sedan. I'm a little bit taller myself, and typically in more compact sedans, my knees are like touching against the back seat. With this one, it's not the case. I'm pretty dang comfortable back there. In the middle seat, you can actually fold the back down to reveal another 2 spaces for cup holders, which is kind of awesome. You'll also have cup holder slots in each of the doors. Now, it's important to mention that the 8th generation Camry has 2 different powertrains. There is the hybrid powertrain and the standard gasoline version. Today, we're only going to be talking about the standard gasoline trim. Let's get into it. The gasoline version of the Camry has a 2.5-liter inline-4 cylinder that'll get you about 203 horsepower. You'll get 28 miles to the gallon city and 39 highway. That's pretty awesome. You can expect to get 512 miles of range on a 16-gallon tank. Now, if you want a little bit more power and a bigger engine, there is a V6 version of this car. This car also does come with Toyota Safety Sense, which means you'll get radar adaptive cruise control and lane assist. Now, from personal experience, I absolutely love this. When I'm in traffic or on a long road trip, I set the speed limit of the cruise control and it just cruises along with that. If a car pulls in front of you, it'll match the speed and maintain a set distance from the car. And you can change that distance too. So if I want to be, let's say, 2 cars or 3 cars away from the car in front of me, I can change that. And the lane keep assist is also pretty nice too. It stiffens up the steering wheel. Now, I personally like the keep lane assist, but a lot of people do complain about it because if you go over the line, it beeps at you a ton. Now, all I have to say to that is skill issue. Just get better and it won't beep at you. Jokes aside, this car is phenomenal to drive, especially if you have a longer commute or you're going on a road trip. All right, let's go ahead and talk about some tips and tricks and what to look out for when buying one of these things used. Now, it's no secret that the Camry is going to be one of the most reliable cars out there, so there aren't going to be too many red flags to look out for, but there are a few, so let me talk about those. The issues that I'm about to talk about only really apply to the first handful of 2018 Toyota Camrys that are made. The biggest issue is going to be the transmission. So when you go for a test drive, and you should go for a test drive, pay attention to how the car is shifting. If you're noticing an aggressive drop in gears or a lot of gear hunting, that could potentially be a red flag. However, this issue was a recall. So if the owner has taken it to a Toyota dealership early enough, that issue could have largely been solved. However, if you do notice this aggressive shifting or gear hunting, it is worth taking it to a mechanic to have it inspected. Make sure you go to a third-party mechanic that isn't affiliated with, say, like a dealership. Now, it is worth mentioning that if the car is shifting aggressively, it could also be due to the way the previous owner has driven it. Now, a good way to check to see if the transmission's bad or if the previous owner was just a crazy driver is you go to a Toyota or just a car dealership and ask them to clear the transmission memory. Now, what's cool about some of these more modern cars is that they kind of learn your behavior as you drive. So, for example, if you're a driver that tends to accelerate quicker off the get-go, your car will prepare for that. Hence why you could also be experiencing some aggressive shifting when you go for a test drive. So a good way to determine if the car has kind of a faulty transmission or if the previous owner was just a crazy person with a lead foot, take it to a dealership or a mechanic and have them wipe the memory of the transmission. That way it can start fresh and you can see how the transmission really drives. Other than that, ask to see the car's service history. If the car was maintained every 5,000 to 7,000 miles with oil changes and whatnot, you're going to see this car last a long, long time. I mean, low mileage for this car is considered anything 100,000, 110,000 miles and below that. So if properly maintained and well taken care of, this car could last potentially to 300,000 to 500,000 miles, which is awesome. I've even heard outlandish stories of these cars going beyond that. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if this car went above 500,000 miles in its lifetime. All right, now let's get into some final thoughts here. If you're looking for a daily driver and something that's sturdy and reliable, this car is absolutely for you. You're gonna get fantastic gas mileage on those long commutes. You're gonna get decreased stress when it comes to driving because of the radar cruise control. And this car is overall pretty dang roomy. So if you have kids or if you drive a lot of friends, they're gonna be pretty comfortable sitting in the back of this car. Someone who's a little bit taller than normal, I can comfortably sit in the back seat of this car, which I can't say for most cars out there. My legs don't touch the back of the seat. I have plenty of room to kind of move around, and the seats sit at a pretty comfortable angle. Now, I bought this car when it had 15,000 miles on it, and I've driven it all the way till right now it's got about 105,000 miles. I have had zero extra maintenance cost outside of getting oil changed and like brakes done, tires done, rotation, all that good stuff. Legit, nothing has broken. I mean, knock on wood, but this thing is an absolute dream to have. If you're looking for a car that'll last you, that's cheaper to maintain, has pretty great fuel economy, and that's a little bit roomier, this car is absolutely for you. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below. We'll do our best to get back to you as soon as we can. Feel free to hit that subscribe button. We release a new car review every week. We'll see you guys on the next one.